Ever heard the sound of a helicopter shattering the peace of a rose garden while a woman screams about bylaws? Yeah, that happened. And the reason she blocked an ambulance during a medical emergency with folding tables, cupcakes, and a jug of sangria. It started on a quiet Saturday morning. I was in the garage messing with a drone when I got a distress alert from my neighbor George's medical band. George was a Korean War vet pushing 90, and his heart hadn't been doing great. I dropped everything, grabbed the trauma kit I keep in the truck, and ran barefoot across the street. He was on the porch, face ghost white, barely breathing. His wife Mary was shaking, trying to call 911. I started CPR right away while my wife Sarah took over the call. Everything was lined up, except the ambulance never showed up. I ran toward the gated entrance, expecting flashing lights. Instead, I found traffic cones, pastel tablecloths, and a huge sign reading Serenity Springs Garden Gala. And right in the middle of it, Madeline Crane, HOA president, sipping sangria like she ran Buckingham Palace. I told her someone was dying. She told me the event was too important to interrupt. Her exact words, "If it's that serious, they can walk." That's when I lost it. I kicked over her centerpiece, started tossing cones out of the road, and shouted at the ambulance to drive through. She tried to block me with muffins. Eventually, the paramedics got through. We stabilized George, but those minutes we lost, they mattered, and instead of apologizing, Madeline doubled down. Filed complaints. Got the HOA to cite me for unauthorized landscaping disruption. Then she tried to pass a rule that emergency vehicles needed board approval during HOA events. That's when I decided, no more. I wasn't just going to react. I was going to prepare. What she didn't know, I used to coordinate medical evacuations. I still had contacts. I filed for FAA clearance for a medevac training drill right over our neighborhood. And guess where the only viable landing zone was her perfectly trimmed rose garden. I mapped it out. Filed the paperwork, got sheriff. Sign off. Started marking the area wearing a reflective vest and walking around with a clipboard like I was with the city. When Madeline saw me near her bushes, she stormed out with her usual visor yelling. I was trespassing. I calmly explained it was an authorized drill. She nearly fainted. She emailed the entire neighborhood warning them I was staging an illegal helicopter landing. I countered with flyers showing how fast medevac response saves lives, included QR codes to actual rescue footage. Then something wild happened. People started siding with me. Some even brought coffee and offered to help. Just as we were about to run the first dry drill, a real emergency hit. A kid named Lucas fell from a swing in the cul-de-sac, cracked his head on a rock. He was unconscious, pulse weak. I called Dan, my old rescue pilot buddy. Within 2 minutes he was airborne, and I ran straight for the rose garden. We were laying down orange panels when Madeline stormed out with a rake yelling about her roses. I told her a kid's life was at stake. She screamed about communism. I lit the flare. Dan brought the chopper in low. The rotors shredded flower petals into the air like confetti. And there she was, standing in the center, refusing to move. One of my buddies, a retired linebacker, gently moved her aside. She flailed, screamed louder than the helicopter, but no one could hear her anymore. The medics loaded Lucas in under 2 minutes. The whole thing caught on camera from 3 angles. It went viral by nightfall. News anchors called it a miracle. Madeline called it tyranny. She tried filing restraining orders, claimed PTSD from rotor noise, even did a press conference in front of her wilted roses flag backdrop taped to her garage door, accusing me of faking the rescue. Said the kid wasn't really hurt. That's when I started digging. Found invoices where she'd rerouted over $15,000 of HOA funds into her private yard, calling it community beautification. I handed it all to Nate, a local journalist. 2 weeks later, a 3-part expose dropped the helicopter and the HOA queen. She sued me, said I'd ruined her garden, her peace, her reputation wanted. $50K, and a public apology. In court, she wore a neck brace, sunglasses, the whole show. Her lawyer tried to paint me as some rogue vigilante, but when I played the clip of her blocking the ambulance, and the one where she screamed in front of a landing helicopter, the judge asked one question. "Did you stand in the landing zone and refuse to move?" She stammered. The judge cut her off. Case dismissed. I walked out of that courtroom to a ripple of applause. She vanished after that. Stopped coming to meetings. Her garden dried up. Neighbors started talking, sharing stories about years of threats, fines, and intimidation. We held new elections, rewrote policies. Emergency access became a priority. We installed med kits across intersections, and that, Rose Garden. Now it's a shared community herb garden and an emergency helicopter landing zone. We even held a safety fair there. Dan flew in again. This time the kids got to sit in the chopper. Madeline watched from behind her curtain, but didn't come out. A few weeks later, I got a plain envelope. No return address. Inside was a note. I didn't know the boy was hurt. I'm sorry. I didn't tell anyone. Just folded it and kept it. Because sometimes the loudest apology comes in silence. Now the neighborhood's different. Kids play out front. People talk longer at mailboxes. No one's scared to plant wind chimes or paint their fence. The fear's gone, and all it took was one blocked ambulance and one very loud helicopter. So what do you think? Did I take it too far or not far enough? Should HOA rules ever outweigh a human life? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I have a feeling this one's gonna stir the pot.